Today, I'm joined by a special guest to go through some of the biggest news stories out there. I have Julie Banderas. Julie, thank you so much for joining me.
It is my pleasure. Great to be here.
So, let me give my audience some background. Julie is an Emmy Award-winning journalist. You can see her regularly on Fox News. She's also a mother of three and an author. She's got a new book out, which we'll talk about here in a minute. I don't know if you saw this. I know you've been doing media hits all day, but President Trump held a cabinet meeting where Secretary of State Marco Rubio revealed a Biden era State Department unit that was dedicated to spying on U.S. citizens. They were labeling them vectors of disinformation. Rubio said, I'm not going to disclose who it is, but they're sitting at this table. Do you think we will find out the name of that person? And why would the Biden administration want to spy on American citizens in order to discredit us online?
And the Biden administration was actually afraid of China, okay, spying on US citizens through TikTok. What hypocrites talking out of both sides of their mouth. Are we surprised? Absolutely not. And I do believe that that person will be named. I don't think the Trump administration is going to allow for anyone to get away with any of this. Certainly Donald Trump is not going to. And I bet you the first chance he gets, he will let us know who was the mole, if you will, inside the Biden administration that knew about this and continues to work in politics today. That's exactly why the American public does not believe or have faith or trust the American political system. That is why Trump supporters trust Trump. Other way around is because he's not a politician. He's a businessman. He's a man of the people. He is out there to make promises and keep them. And that is very much unlike politics these days. So I do believe that Trump is all about transparency, and he is not going to let this go. I don't believe that a lot of the misgivings and the shady business that the Biden administration is responsible for will go unnoticed and not investigated. And I believe if the Biden administration was actually spying on Americans, we ought to know. And I promise you, Trump will get to the bottom of it.
Yeah, Marco Rubio was a little vague. He's kind of a class act, a gentleman. He doesn't, but I don't think Trump will let this go. But, we were all pretty shocked with the Twitter files, right? Finding out the FBI and Biden and others, they were basically trying to manipulate and coerce people high up at Twitter and Facebook and other places. But now buried within the State Department of the federal government, a spying department. I'm looking forward to getting more answers. I don't have a lot of them. It's kind of a breaking news story that I just wanted to pick your brain on. President Trump did an interview for his 100 days in office with ABC.
Yes.
He said that the left-leaning media helped cover up the mental decline of a sitting U.S. president. What are your thoughts on that? I had been telling my audience since 2020, he is showing signs of dementia. He can't remember things about America. He can't remember things about being vice president. Your thoughts on that interview?
First of all, the mainstream media is responsible for several things. Number one, a cover-up, the greatest cover-up in all political history of all time. And also, they're also responsible for getting Donald Trump into the White House. He owes them all a great gratitude because, quite frankly, not only did they cover up the cognitive decline of President Biden, but they knew, insiders knew, aides to President Biden knew, Jill Biden certainly knew, everyone who worked in that White House knew, and there were journalists in that White House who actually sat down with the president, saw him face to face, saw that he was mentally and physically incapable to carry on as the president of the United States, but they deliberately hid it. And not only that, but there are journalists till this day that will admit that the reason why they hid it, they even have told us why they hid it, because they knew that if they were to shed light on the president's inability to carry another 4 years in office, that would be a feather in Donald Trump's cap, so to speak, because they thought that they would be helping Donald Trump. So by masking President Biden's cognitive inability, they thought that they were protecting President Biden and keeping Trump out of the White House. What they did, in fact, was quite the opposite. It blew up in their faces, and now Trump is in office because they didn't have a presidential candidate, right? After the debate, all of America saw what we all knew, right? And now the secret's out. And then they had basically a month for Kamala Harris to get her ducks in a row in order to become the president, which, quite frankly, she was the biggest failed vice president that this country's ever seen. So certainly she had no chance. So the Democrats and the mainstream media are to blame for the Democrats losing the White House. I truly do believe that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know if you saw this or not, but former White House press secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, she went on The View, and on The View, she let it slip that she actually had no contact with President Biden. So she was going out defending his physical abilities, saying he was sharp as a tack. She could barely keep up. Then she lets it slip on The View. Actually,
oh my gosh.
I was caught off guard by his debate, and then I'm the one that had to go out there and try to cover up for his terrible behavior, his mental decline on international TV. She wasn't even meeting with him. I mean, this is just more lies and deceptions. Your thoughts on her admitting that?
First of all, I'm disgusted, but sadly not surprised. And that's the problem, because I don't trust anything that came out of the former presidential administration. And she came out and defended the president tooth and nail. I mean, she really did a really good job, but we all see it. We all have eyes and ears. We watched his news conferences. We watched his debates. We watched his sad interviews where he would literally just stop in mid-sentence and stare into the headlights like a deer. I mean, he was incapable of holding an interview, let alone leading a country. And so the fact that their White House press secretary never actually met with the president, but yet was delivering a message from him is the biggest lie ever. But guess what? So was the auto pen signature. How many documents do you believe that the president actually signed that he had no idea he was signing because he never physically even saw them? So basically, that White House was on cruise control, and Biden was not at the wheel.
Yeah. Speaker Mike Johnson said in Biden's final weeks that he finally was able to get a meeting. And wouldn't you know it, they brought Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries to run interference. As he sat down, he realized, wait a minute, this guy's brains have turned to mush. And he didn't even remember some of the executive orders and bills that he had signed. I mean, it's just like they risked the country in order to keep Trump out. Yep. Meanwhile, Trump is doing a fantastic job. What are your thoughts on Trump's first 100 days?
Remarkable. I mean, I have to be honest. I was skeptical during Trump's first run. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to go into all the reasons why, but first of all, he's not a former politician. He was controversial. He had a lot of ethical issues in question, which I had trouble swallowing. But I will say that round two, I'm grateful that we have a president who's not only standing up for the American people, but he's standing up for the promises he made. I don't remember the last time that we had a president in office that literally ran. His campaign promises were every single promise that he has kept. When is the last time that you can say that a president, all the speeches and the campaign speeches and the slogans that they spew out just to get elected, that they actually put those into action? I've never seen anything like it. Illegal immigration is the lead issue in this country, which is what got Trump elected. And he made a promise to the American people. As far as the polls are concerned, that his poll numbers are down because of tariffs. First of all, the tariffs are there because we needed a president who had I can't say the word, but I think the cojones, if you will, to actually come up with trade deals and stand up to countries like China that has been walking all over the United States and charging us tariffs. They should be grateful that we're buying from them. And so we need a president like this who's going to stand up to China, who's going to stand up to the illegal immigrants, who's going to stand up to the feds and hopefully try to get our rates down and try to build up America. But you have to start at the bottom. And he inherited inflation. He inherited a recession, which quite frankly, the Biden administration never took accountability for. And now people are trying to blame Trump on this. All he's done is good for this country. What Elon Musk has done is nothing but good. Hundreds of billions of dollars he's saved the American public. And what do Democrats have to say about it? Nothing. All they will do is complain, and then they'll somehow transition into sticking up for trans boys competing in women's sports. Like that's actually what they care about instead of the bottom line. I mean, we're all paying taxes, right? We should all be invested in what Trump is doing for our economy and for also for the safety of our borders and for the safety of our children. It's disgusting that the Democrats will never acknowledge that what Trump has done, or at least some of it, they can't even agree on one thing. That tells you that obviously he's doing the right thing.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, I know that you're a mother of three. I'm a father of three. When I see these Democrat so-called leaders, they're like willing to die on a hill for gangbangers, rapists, murderers, people that are trafficking in children. I have young children. My job is to do everything I can to provide and protect for them. And then I see a party that doesn't stand up for women when it says we stand up for women. It doesn't stand up for children when it says that they stand up for children. They say they're the party of kindness, but they're not. Look at what they just did to Tesla and Elon Musk. And what are your thoughts?
Precisely.
I mean, I just don't understand. I can't get my mind around what they say and then what they do. And then their voters just continue to vote for them.
It's the party of hypocrisy. That's what this is. And you're finally seeing their true colors. I believe that this is the lowest point in Democratic history for the Democratic Party. I mean, they are being seen for complainers, for whiners, and for do nothing. It's a do nothing party. I mean, they have gotten absolutely nothing accomplished. They've got their loudmouth squad members that pride themselves on not attempting to pass any legislation whatsoever because all of their energy is focused on trashing Trump. So when you're trashing Trump, let's not forget, he's got 4 years in office. You're trashing America. So if you're going to trash America, how does that look to other countries if we're trying to build our country up and make us stronger as a nation? And you've got politicians in this country that are crapping all over America. I mean, they should move out of this country because quite frankly, anyone who's putting down the president, you have every right to disagree with the president. You can disagree with tariffs. I think the tariffs, for example, are a perfect example of why they're good and bad. I mean, obviously it's going to cause prices to go up in America. And obviously the stock market has been hit really badly. People have lost so much money in their 401ks. People that intended on retiring in the next couple of years feel like they cannot. I believe in the president and his plan, and that is to turn the tide. So every president that has ever bowed down to other countries and allowed for them to put tariffs on products that are coming into the United States, those days are done. And we're going to start actually building products and manufacturing here in America. And that's in the end what's going to be best for our country. So if we have to suffer in the short term, I believe the long-term goal is to help Americans. And I do believe that's what Donald Trump intends to do.
I agree. Hope is on the way, but it's going to take time to get things, like you said. He's got decades of bad policy that he's now got to reverse or course correct. You've got a new book out, A Monumental Mistake. At first, I thought it was about the Biden administration. Then I thought maybe it was about picking Kamala Harris to be the front runner for the Democrat
Party. So many things that it could be about, right?
But it's not. So tell me, what is the book, A Monumental Mistake, about?
A Monumental Mistake is about teaching what our society has failed to do, and that's teaching kids respect. You have 3 kids. So let me ask you this. How often do you see other children, not yours, other people's kids, okay, disrespect one another, disrespect children in their classrooms, disrespect their teachers, disrespect authority, just blatant disrespect? I mean, would you say pretty frequently?
Yes, I would. It's more than I want.
It's really disturbing. And when I was growing up, first of all, you never talked back to your teacher. You certainly never talked to your parents the way that children seem to think that they can talk to their parents now. And that just evolves into a much greater problem because if you look at our society as a whole, and I'm talking about college students and young adults, they have lost the true values of respect. And it's not just respecting each other, it's respecting those who came before us, respecting history, respecting tradition, and also respecting one another when we disagree. The political divide in this country is just at an all-time low. And I think it's so important for parents to truly instill that value of respect in their children. What's the best way to teach children a lesson? through stories, because that's what children get. When you can't have an adult conversation with a child and make them understand why all these things matter. But when you write a story to a child and they read it, they see the illustrations, they identify with the characters, they actually apply it to their real life. And that's what A Monumental Mistake is about. It's basically, in short, without giving away the story, these two children who are disrespecting a historical monument, and their friends are telling them to not do so, and they deface it, and their friends tell them no. And long story short, a monster appears, and I will not tell you how it ends, but in the end, they learn their lesson. They learn that they disrespected their friends. They disrespected something from the past, a character in history, and they learned forgiveness out of it because they did ask their friends for forgiveness. And I think that's another part of respect, is that if you do disrespect somebody, apologize. People don't apologize anymore. I never hear my kids say I'm sorry when they're disrespectful to one another. I'm not even talking about other kids. When they're mean to each other, I make them apologize every time. It's so important, because I'm learning more and more as I meet more and more adults in my career. Nobody takes accountability for their actions. We're not perfect, but if you make a mistake, apologize. It's part of being respectful for one another by taking accountability. And that's another problem, is that there is no accountability in this country. I mean, kids get away with murder practically in our public school system. And so it really just starts at home. And I wish parents would just nail down, core values and morals in our children so that we can raise a more wholesome next generation.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, I look
This
forward
is the
to,
book, by the way,
yes. Okay.
right here.
I'm going to put a direct link so that people can check it out. It
Oh, yes.
sounds amazing.
Bravebooks.com, by the way. So bravebooks.com, Brave Books is a conservative book publishing company, Christian conservative book publishing company. It's actually #1 on Amazon right now under children's religion books that I just found out about today. But bravebooks.com, you can pick up this book, or we have a free promotion right now where you get 2 of my books. My first book was on teaching the lesson of perseverance, which is also very important. So Perseverance and Respect are the 2 books. You get them both for free if you subscribe to the monthly book club, where you'll get a wholesome book every single month coming from bravebooks.com.
Okay, I will put those direct links down below. That's really great that you're trying to get that message out there. One last question, then I know we have a hard out, but
Yes.
the media. I just read this morning a fairness report. ABC News, CNN, MSNBC, NBC. 92% of the time they talk about President Trump, it's in a negative manner. How are we expecting people to even know what he's doing for the country? Or maybe this is why Teslas are being firebombed. If 92% of the coverage is just that he's Hitler, that he's awful, that everything is bad, and they don't take the time to look around and go, wait a minute, gas is down, eggs are down, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
And then that's why I'm very skeptical of poll numbers, because poll numbers are coming from uneducated people who are getting their information from liars. And when you watch the mainstream media, if you omit information, as far as I'm concerned, that's a lie. If you're telling a story, but you're only telling one side, that's a lie. So America's being lied to. It's so irresponsible. It happened throughout the entire Biden administration. We all saw it. So if those who watch mainstream media haven't figured it out, they're not getting the whole truth, then I'm sorry to say that ignorance is not only among the mainstream media, but the American viewing public, who's been brainwashed by the liberal media. But then again, if you're watching liberal media, you're most likely not a conservative, and you're not watching other maybe fair and balanced networks, shall I say?
Yeah.
I just, it's sad because, I mean, just the other day, just as a silly example, it's not silly, it's serious, but I was covering a 14-year-old female, 6 feet tall, identifies as female, biological male, trans athlete playing in track and field in Long Island, and how they're going to be losing a $15 million grant because of that, because of Trump's rules, and how people are saying that that's hateful and anti-trans. And I say, no, it's unfair. But those stories you'll never see on the mainstream media. You just never will, because they want to accuse the Trump administration of being anti-trans. That's not what this is all about. This is about fairness and just going back to our roots. I mean, this was never an issue when we were kids. I can't understand how we got here, but I don't think it's too late to go back.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like the Democrats are saying Trump arrested a judge. You just don't do that. Well, she harbored an illegal immigrant who was in her court for punching someone in the face 30 times in a row.
Yeah.
Like, this was not a good person. She snuck him out the back door. That's when you arrest a judge, not just because you're trying to push through your agenda, but because they've broken the law. Julie, I'm going to put those direct links down below, as well as your
Awesome.
X account, so that people can find that very easily. Thank you for taking time out of your day to come on. I hope you have a great rest of your day.